2011. Mahindra Racing made their debut in a sport that until then saw virtually zero Indian participation. Teaming up with Italian specialist engineering firm Engines Engineering for building the bike that would compete in the 125cc class in MotoGP was going to be no easy task. But 17 races and a season later, hard work paid off. As Mahindra rider Danny Webb claimed Mahindra's first pole position at the race at Valencia, and for Team Mahindra, the results were for all to see, standing third in the Constructors' Championship in 2011. Perfect time then to catch up with Anand Mahindra, and who better than Editor-in-Chief Adil to engage him in a no-holds-barred one-on-one.
There's a revolution in Indian motorsport underway. The inaugural Indian Motorsport Formula 1 Grand Prix was a resounding success. A lot of new ventures in motor racing have happened. But curiously, India, with 12 million two-wheelers sold this year or thereabouts, the second largest motorcycle market in the world, and there is nothing virtually of relevance or consequence as far as two-wheel sport is concerned. At least till Anand stepped into the fray, put Mahindra Racing on the world's biggest motorcycling stage. What made you do that, Anand?
You know, in business, there's always a mix, Adil, between opportunism and long-range intent. And here it was a classical combination of the two. You may recall that we had some years ago, within our Systech component sector, acquired an engineering firm, a two-wheeler engineering firm in Italy, Engines Engineering. Now, interestingly, the founder of that firm, Alberto Strazzari, has a passion for motor racing. And on the side, as part of his company which we acquired, there was tucked into it a neat little motor racing team that he had been nurturing for years. He never had the real fuel in terms of financial resources to build it up into a major force. And it was struggling. He kept finding the occasional sponsor. Lambretta was a sponsor one year.
And a Chinese company the other year.
Chinese company another year. So he just kept the dream alive. And then he dropped into my office sometime into the acquisition and said, I just want to throw this idea at you, that this has been my passion. Now, I think it would serve Mahindra well, from both a technology and a branding point of view, to come in and become sponsors. So I, of course, discussed it not just with Hemant Luthra, who had spearheaded the acquisition of Engines Engineering, but with our two-wheeler sector, as well as with our...
And which was very nascent as well.
Very nascent, as well as with our corporate brand council. So all three of these, along with me, we put our heads together and we said, this is going to be a long, hard road. This is not like sponsoring one cricket match or one IPL match or one F1 race. This was about making a commitment.
And putting your name on the line.
Putting your name on the line, which I've never shied from doing in the past. So that was the least of the problem. The problem was this worth doing? And to cut a long story short, for a variety of reasons, we decided that on all those fronts, for both Systech, not both, for Systech, for two-wheelers, as well as for the corporate brand, global corporate brand, this was something it was worth making a commitment to, and that's why we took the plunge.
How planned was this thing which happened? The new corporate philosophy, 3 pillars there, then Mahindra two-wheelers getting into the toughest motorcycle market in the world, plus of course your global ambitions, and then taking on the likes of Aprilia and KTM in a cutthroat class.
The beauty of life is that nothing is as per an immediate mathematical plan. Nothing necessarily goes according to plan. Often it goes better than plan, which is nice. But that's the beauty of life and of business, that you try and make things work in a way that they all convene to bring you and your shareholders happiness. And I think the same thing happened here. We have an engineering firm for whom it's beneficial to learn technology by putting these bikes into this gladiatorial arena. We have engineering services in the group as Mahindra Engineering Services, which has a huge amount to learn. we have two-wheelers which not only learns technology but also differentiates itself from competitors by really saying we have racing DNA in our blood. And finally, we have global recognition very gradually on a platform because, and we can talk more about that later, but clearly there are people who, who's this Mahindra? And suddenly there begins to be a recognition that dawns on an increasingly global audience. So when we considered all those potentials, that's when we said, now let's make it a plan.
No Indian manufacturer ever dreamed or even contemplated venturing onto a racetrack in India. And I don't mean the likes of Honda or Yamaha. But at the same time, we knew it was reality when the red and silver machines lined up on the grid at Qatar. It was a big day for Indian bike racing, but definitely it was just the first tiny step because there was a lot of character building the team went through during the course of the year. A lot of disappointments, nothing goes right, but still you guys persevered, showed a lot of character in that sense. What do you think really was the metal which helped the team soldier on and culminate with the final pole of the 125cc two-stroke era?
To me, there were two essential ingredients that motivated the team, allowed them to build the stamina, not just physically but also mentally, to keep at this and to crawl up the ranks, and that were passion and commitment. The passion came originally from Alberto. This was his baby, and suddenly his baby had been thrown a lifeline. So he was determined to do everything that he could to justify that faith that we had placed in him and his team. And I think that passion is infused in his entire racing team. All the people who work with him have that passion. And then couple that with commitment from a large corporate entity like ourselves. I think that provided the two ingredients that were needed to carry us, I would say, relatively successfully throughout the first season.
You are not a bike racing enthusiast, but you seem to have picked it up quite seriously because I see your tweets after every Grand Prix questioning why did he only finish 10th and not 9th.
Well, you know, I'd love to try and pretend that during my school days I had long hair and was a biker and leather jackets.
No, bikers are not like that. They're the Harley Brigade. They don't race.
So nothing as romantic as that. Clearly I was a Woodstock fan, but I was not on a bike, no matter how much I'd like to pretend I was. And I have in the past been more engaged and obsessed with vehicles and automobiles as opposed to two-wheelers. But yes, you're right, this is a new and incipient passion, and I'm embarrassed to say that the first race I went for was the last one in the season.
You're lucky charm there.
Well, I'll tell you, it's very, very addictive, and it's fascinating. I don't think that for the next season, for the Moto3 season which will come up, I guarantee you that it won't be only one race I'll attend.
Speaking about Moto3, this year you only contended with Aprilia largely because it made up the 125cc field, and to a certain extent by a couple of private KTM teams.
Derby and KTM.
But next year you are in it against the big daddies, Honda, Aprilia, KTM, you name it and everyone's there. And it's great because it's a level playing field to begin with. How do you think Mahindra Racing will pan out in the face of the best competition ever for you to really show what you mean?
Let me be very realistic. If I started waxing eloquent to you about standing on the podium right up front, actually I wouldn't blame you for thinking...
waving the patriotic flag.
Yeah, you know, there is hype and then there's reality. The reality is that we don't lack for the two things that I just referred to earlier, which helped us through the first season, which was passion and commitment. I have never seen passion or commitment let you down. So that doesn't mean that we will be the number one team. Will we shoot for being the number one team? Frankly, at Mahindra, we don't know how to shoot for anything except number one. How we will fare, we will wait to see. But we will not lack for passion and commitment, that I guarantee you, nor will we lack for inputs, whether they be the financial inputs, whether they be resource-based inputs from our own engineering, both from Mahindra Engineering and even Mahindra Satyam has tremendous engineering strengths. So keep in mind, this is a very interesting team that's building. We are a team backed not simply by brand builders or by an FMCG company, This is a constructor's team. This is a manufacturer's team. So we have a long-term commitment, we have a long-term benefit we can gain, and we are allied not only to a two-wheeler manufacturer, but to an automotive manufacturer and to one of the top 5 IT companies in India. Think about the resources we bring to the engineering of this team. So there's no reason for me to believe that we should not do as well, if not better, than we expect. And as far as going up with the big boys, I think you know, Adil, that in Mahindra we've been thrown these challenges many times ago. A long time ago people told me, well, the big Japanese automakers are coming into India, you better move out. I think we're alive, we stayed in there, so we love that challenge. When anyone throws us that challenge of going up against the big guys, we say that's fine.
I think with the XUV 500 you have hurled the challenge back in the court.
Well, you know, it's like a race. Everybody advises you, your coach tells you, don't look to the side and who's in front or who's behind, just look at the finishing line. That's what we've done, and it served us well. I suspect we'll do the same here.
It's very critical where I saw you unveil the new Moto3 bike at Valencia.
And you were missing, you better be there next time.
And what struck me was, your bike is a unique bike in the Moto3 field as being the only bike with a tubular trellis frame, whereas everyone else are using cast aluminium beam frames. Was it deliberate? Was it for the means of attaining the objectives on the track, or was it more because the Mojo also has a similar frame, and the rub-offs could be really
certainly there could be that rub-off. I won't pretend to you that I am the father of those changes or that I get into that strategic element. Clearly this is the engines engineering, Alberto's inputs which have gone into it. I always like it when people do things differently and differentiate themselves. I support it. Much more fun than just following the flock, if you will. So if we are trying something new, my only questions to Alberto, to Mufaddal, who's our team principal, will be, are you sure that you are de-risking your strategy as much as possible? Are you sure you're not being different simply for the sake of being different? Is there a logic for why you're using a different frame than others? And how do you think it will help? Is a softer frame, harder frame, depending on the kinds of conditions you foresee? How will it meld with the engines at this new class of 250? All those questions is what I do well. But as far as the answers are concerned, ultimately I trust people who know better than me.
Third place in the 2011 MotoGP 125cc Constructors Championship and Team Mahindra Racing is all set to up their ante for 2012. At Valencia, they unveiled their all-new 250cc bike, which is set to compete in the first ever Moto3 Challenge. Called the MPG30, it's a single-cylinder 250cc engine which features a tubular steel frame and an aluminium swing arm. How will they stand up to the competition from the established big players?
Wherever we start from, the end point must always be a development of competence which is at home with us.